So one of the key things to monetizing your content skills early on is getting a 9 to 5 using the same skills. And that's why, like, I shared my own story. So I'm going to break the whole journey. Like, if I was going to start all over, become like a content creator that is making money in 6 months, I'll break it into 3 phases. There's the learning phase where you're actively learning, you're trying to build the skills. Then there's the building phase where you're trying to create, high quality work that you can include in a portfolio. And then there's the money phase. And I was like, no, this is not the kind of life that I want to live. And I always say this, like, you have the power to change your life. You can literally decide that this is not the life I want and then change it. Then I remember being, still talking about vision. Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Folasade Dining here. Thank you so much for the love on my last video. It was so good to hear you guys. I get clarity just from knowing how to find your niche and how to use storytelling to share everything you're interested in without being boxed in a corner. So today I am going to share everything that I would do if I was starting like my content creation journey all over. How I would start from like scratch and like to making money. So a bit of like backstory. So I started creating content in 2020. I remember I love telling this story so much because when I signed up for my first ever content class, I had no idea how like it would change my life, and that was exactly what it did. So in 2020, I started creating content because I think I was just on social media, and I was like, content creation was just starting to get popular then. It was just before COVID really hit, and already like I used to write. Even as a child, I had a WordPress blog that I used to write. I got it as a gift for my 21st birthday. Shout out Dr. Mosti. You were one of the first people to ever see. Oh my God, that talent, and you invested in it like earlier on. So I was 21, and then it was like my birthday gift because they had seen like I could write. So that was like, I would say that was like my first step, my content step. And then I started like this story series. I remember writing about this girl that married this guy that she met him at a naming ceremony, but the guy ended up being, I think he ended up being abusive or something. I actually have like a series of stories. Maybe I'm going to link like my WordPress blog right there. But that was where it kind of like the first like major content creation. But when you talk about like video content creation, that didn't really start until 2020 when I took like a course. I remember that time, if you've been on this channel before, you've probably heard this story before, where I was working as a veterinary doctor in a clinic in Ikeja, and I was like on site. I had like an apartment just next to the dog's kennel, which I was grateful to have, by the way, because there was no way I could afford renting an apartment in Ikeja then, like based on how much I was earning. So when the company gave me that apartment, I was just very glad. So I remember being there and then just talking to my boyfriend that, oh my God, like, oh, there's this person on Instagram that was they were selling like a course, and I really love to join because I feel like this is something I can do, right? And I remember telling him, but I can't afford it, but I don't think I'll do it. It was one of our long night calls, talking stage people, hello. But we were already dating, so I wouldn't say it was talking stage. So I remember him saying, don't worry, I will send you the money. And true to his word, sent me that 5,000 naira. And then I joined Salem King's class and I started creating content, like really just from there. I remember was it a 3-day class now, a 7-day class? I think it was a 3-day class. The first day, like immediately we stopped like the class. I just started creating content. Like there was a 7-day challenge or so that he gave us. I can't remember clearly now. But then I remember not having a tripod, I just had my phone. I didn't even have an iPhone. I had one Techno phone that was broken, on that the screen had even broken, but that was what I was recording with. So because I didn't have a tripod and because I didn't have my own space, I was living like in the hospital at work. I would wake up very early. Like any day I wanted to film, I wake up very early, wake up by like 7 a.m. and go into one of the cars that was parked in the apartment, in the hospital complex, and then I will start recording. I will put my phone on the dashboard, the passenger seat, and I'll look at my script and I'll read it and I'll start recording. But for me, it was at that time that I started it was really just like something I was interested in. I had no idea, that it was going to change my life. It was just something like I was doing and I was interested in. And then I remember then I would make videos on relationships and people were like, oh my God, yes, what you have said is the truth, and they will share my videos and I'm like, okay, it looks like okay, this thing is like making sense. But I did that from like April up until September, October. And like I said, because like my first like content creation was really content writing, and I used to like edit stuff for my friends, their CVs, their bios. So one of my friends that had edited that bio, and you see why I'm like sharing all this backstory, you know, reached out to me and said, oh, like my company, I just got this job as a product marketing manager, but I would need someone to write content for me. Do you think you can do it? Right? I'm like, yeah, I think I can do it. I mean, I've been writing. So, and that's one thing I would say that you need to do. I mean, especially like as girls, you know, trying to build a career, trying to increase your income, you need to be able to rise to challenges or rise to opportunities, even when you really don't think like you are qualified. And that's one attitude that I have always had. Like, if there's an opportunity, I'm going to say yes, and then I'm going to figure out how to do it later. And literally that was the same thing I did for this job, because I was working as a doctor. It wasn't like I really like had like streams of experiences, apart from the fact that like I had a blog that I'd been writing and I'd learned content creation. So I applied for the job and then I got it, and that was how I got into content. I was already doing content as a hobby, but then now I was doing content marketing as my job. I left the hospital where I was working then. I remember like having to tell my parents, okay, I know I did a 7-year course studying veterinary medicine, and now I want to start shooting videos or start writing articles. And my dad was like, don't you think you should just try and maybe do 1 month on this new job first and see how it is? What if, you know, they just couldn't, like, I mean, it's a new economy generally, right? So it was strange to them. I was like, nah, I think this is it. And then by October, my boyfriend and I were married, so they spoke to him and like, are you sure this is what she said she wants to do? I remember that call. It was in the kitchen that PT took that call and was like, yeah, we are sure like this is what she should do. And then I started that job. Now I'm starting like with this story because the step-by-step guide, like if I was starting all over again to full-time content creation, it will not look like anything like you've heard before, right? On YouTube, a lot of full-time content creators on YouTube are full-time social media content creators. But like I always say, as a content creator, you're already writing scripts, you know, you're already shooting videos, you are managing social media pages, you are probably your own video editor, your own videographer, you know, especially if you're like in the early stage, you're not outsourcing yet. All these are skills that companies need. And one of the ways to get frustrated as a content creator is to not have like a consistent source of income or just waiting until the next brand deal comes, right? So one of the key things to monetizing your content skills early on is getting a 9-to-5 using the same skills. And that's why like I shared my own story. So I'm going to break the whole journey. Like if I was going to start all over, become like a content creator that is making money in 6 months, I'll break it into 3 phases. There's the learning phase where you're actively learning, you're trying to build the skills. Then there's the building phase where you're trying to create, you know, high quality work that you can include in a portfolio. And then there's the money phase. I would say like, you know, I've been creating content since 2020. This is my 5th year creating content. I would say I'm currently in my money phase, and it took me that long to really get into my money phase. I'm making another video on that entirely, like money mindset changes you need to have as a content creator that doesn't want to do this for fun. But you can check on that. I'm most likely going to post it like later on. Yeah. Okay, so the first phase is the learning phase. And I would say like the most important part of this learning phase is having a vision, right? Before you even start to learn the actual skills, you want to have a vision. How do you see yourself? What kind of content creator do you want to be, right? What kind of life do you see yourself having? So remember when I was telling you like in the hospital where I was working, part of the reasons why I started to actively consider like an alternative career path was because the job, you know, being a vet doctor was very demanding. So I would resume work. I think we used to resume 8 to 5, Mondays to Fridays. Then Saturdays as well, we had to work 9 to 4. So while like maybe a friend was getting married or maybe there was a hangout in church, I wouldn't be able to go because, you know, I had to go to work and the salary was less than $250 per month. So it wasn't giving, it wasn't commensurate. And I was like, no, this is not the kind of life that I want to live. And I always say this, like you have the power to change your life. You can literally decide that this is not the life I want and then change it. Then I remember being, you know, still talking about vision. I remember being in my apartment then, or my room, because it was really not an apartment, it was a room. And then I wrote it down. part of my confessions that I will have a flexible career. I will have a career. I remember that particular line so much. Like, we know, my roommate and I then, because another doctor was staying with me, and I remember us writing it down that we would have a profitable career. I remember writing it down, and when she saw mine as well, she was like, oh, she was also going to write, because both of us wanted more for our lives, but we didn't just know how. But the first thing we did was write the vision down. So if you're going to become a full-time content creator, start making money that sustains your lifestyle as a content creator in 6 months, the first thing you want to do is write the vision and make it plain. Now, another way that I do vision or like try to plan my life is find someone who is where I want to be and kind of reverse engineer their success. So I always like to say that when I see successful content creators, I don't get jealous, right? Of course, there's a temptation to want to wish like that was me and be envious, but I know that when I'm being jealous, I'm not being inspired. If you are jealous, you're not inspired, right? So I really don't do that. What I try to do is, okay, what did they do right? How can I also do that in a way that is still authentic and original to me? So that's one of the two ways, to like have a vision. Look for someone who is where you want to be, creating the type of content that you want to create and making money from it, right? And try to like reverse engineer, go down on their page, see how they did it, and then like reverse engineer that. So I'll say like that's the first thing. So if you could see yourself as a fulfilled content creator, in a career that you love, what would that look like? What kind of content would you be creating, right? What platforms will you be on? Will you be on Instagram? Will you be on YouTube? Then you also want to think about like the problems that you want to solve. What kind of problems you want to solve? What keeps you up at night? These are like key questions that would eventually influence like the kind of content that you create. But the first thing you want to do is like, you want to write the vision. Habakkuk, it says that write the vision, make it plain, that he may run who reads it. So don't just put it in your head, write it down, so that when you get tempted maybe to stop, or it's frustrating, or your content is not doing well, or you are stuck at 250 followers on Instagram, you will know that there was a vision that you saw, there was vision you saw, and then you keep, going after it and going after it. It can even be like you write it down like, oh, I'll be a podcaster talking about dating and relationships, or I'll be an Instagram content creator inspiring, 95 girlies to do this, or I'll be a YouTube video creator teaching people how to transition into their tech careers. But make sure you write it down. Now, and that visioning is very important because, again, I've said all the reasons. So now, the next thing you now want to do is, after writing your vision, let's say writing your vision takes you like a week or two to look at people who are already successful and then reverse engineer their success. Then the last 2 weeks in the first month, you're doing all of this in the first month, right? Your first month is for visioning and then deciding like who you want to learn from. Then the next thing is like the learning, like the active learning. I am all for like watching YouTube videos. I am all for learning from people on Instagram. But I strongly believe that there is also the part of paying somebody to learn from them that cuts your journey in half, right? There's a lot of free content online. If you want to start content creation, there's a lot of free content, right? And I wouldn't even say you should pay someone until you've seen some of that free content. But when you're really, really serious, right, about starting out, I would say that it's very important that you look for someone who has like a course or a digital material or like a community, like I do. My community is currently closed. It will reopen again by the end of the year, by December for 2026, where you can get like everything you need, right? Like a course, right? Or like a community of people where you can get like everything you need. And you know why that is important is because there is a way that, yes, try and error helps, right? You learn. But when you climb on the shoulder of someone who has done it before, it cuts your journey in half. You learn a lot of things, especially when it's a community where there are other people like you, where you can collaborate, you can see what other people are doing. There's just a way like it makes like your journey faster. So yes, I'm all for like getting the work done, but if you're really serious, about monetizing your content, about going full-time as a content creator, I would say that make sure like part of your plan also involves like learning directly from someone who is doing it or who's done it before, and not just like their free content now, right? But something like you would actively invest in. Another reason why paying for stuff is important is that by the time you drop up, let's say $200, right? You know that your money has entered it, so you actually have to show up. Like, you don't have like an excuse. So that's part of the reasons why paying for stuff helps. So I mean, again, if I was doing this all over, I would use like my first few weeks for vision planning, setting the vision. Who do I want to talk to? What kind of content do I want to create? What kind of platforms do I want to be on? And then, like I did in 2020, taking Salem's class, I would look for like a paid course that I can take, you know, so that it can feel like my journey. Another thing it will do for you is that it will also give you access to that creator. And sometimes that's all you need, you know, like a quick access to ask a question, because yes, they are creating free content on social media already, but they have no obligation to answer you, you know, if you have any question. But when you pay, when you show that you can exchange value, you know, for their time for value, they are more likely like to listen to you. I have a lot of creators that I used to look up to that are now like my friends, or that I can easily reach out to because I paid for a service that they were offering. So free stuff is great, but paying is fine. So you've taken month one to do your vision planning, you've taken month one to watch a lot of YouTube videos, and as you're learning, you're also like filming, you're experimenting, right? And then you've joined like a community or a cohort that you can learn from, right? That's month one. That's the learning, you know. Then the second part of the learning, because I said there's the learning phase, there's a building phase, and there is a money phase. Then the second month of the learning phase is where you want to actually now start like putting the content out, because the content creation is a practical thing, right? You can't just say, okay, I'm doing strategy and actually never practicing. So that's where you want to, you know, open like your new Instagram account, your new YouTube account. You want to do like a lot of filming, and you know, you want to start putting content out. This is a good place to experiment a lot. Okay, maybe you had it in mind that this was the problem you wanted to solve, but by the time you started creating the content, you know, your audience started giving you feedback to say, oh, this is what we'd like to see more of. So you're getting like a lot of feedback, you know, from your audience, and you're using that to reiterate. So this is when you want to, you know, want to shoot like a lot of content. You want to be consistent, because you're really just throwing things out there to see what sticks. So the second part, now we've talked about the first 2 months where you've done your vision planning, you've done your learning, you've done a lot of experimenting, you're batch shooting content maybe on weekends and posting at least 3 times a day. Then the second part is where I would say is the building phase. Now, a lot of people, when they start creating content, they just focus on the value they want to offer, and that's amazing. It's important to offer value. It's important to teach. It's important for people to feel like, oh, they learned something. But a key reason why a lot of creators don't grow, and I would know because I talk to creators, at least 10 creators every week, is that there is no personality. So usually the main thing that makes you unique, the main thing that would make people care about you, is what most creators are hiding. They are not telling their stories. So beyond you just being the girl that does video content, that teaches people how to do their makeup, or shares how, you know, a day in your life, you're not really sharing like the story. So people don't know you. So in this building phase, what you want to concentrate on is the thing that makes you unique. Salem said something when he came to our community, and he said it 5 years ago when I joined this course, and it's still true. No human being has the same exact combination of these factors: exposure, your education, your expertise, your experience, and your interest. Now, there are 1,000,001 makeup artists online, you know, trying to teach people. But you see, what will make you different, what will set you apart, you know, is this unique combination of these 5 factors. And most times with the creators I've spoken to, that is the exact thing they are trying to hide, you know, because they feel maybe unsure about it, or they don't know how to go about it without oversharing. But that's actually the thing that sets you apart. So what you want to make sure that you do is that you want to make sure like you really bring out what sets you apart in your building phase, especially in your content, your vibe, your perspective. What opinions do you hold? You don't want to hide that, right? You want to make sure like you're sharing that. Then you also want to ask yourself, how do I want my audience to feel, you know, when they watch my content? Do I want them to feel inspired? Do I want them to feel empowered? Or am I focusing on entertainment? Maybe you are funny. Maybe like people always tell you you're funny, right? Do I want them to be entertained? Do I want them to feel empowered? Do I want them to feel inspired? Am I sharing like the success stories or the journey that I am on like so far? So you want to make sure like these are like factors that you're factoring in. Your core points, you know, your major difference shouldn't be the fact that, oh, you really know how to do makeup. No, it is a full package of your entire personality. So I always like to say, like, value plus personality, it's a combination that never fails. And most times what a lot of creators do is that they just focus on the value and they miss out on the personality. But what really makes you memorable are the stories that you tell, you know, the personality that you show, right? I'm sure like I follow more than one makeup, you know, content creators, but I would say that the ones that I really like are the ones that I feel like I know something about them. I know their opinions, right? They share their story, you know. I feel like I'm a part of their journey. So it goes beyond food or makeup or coaching. It's like a whole part of their story. So in your building phase, after you've done the learning, you've done the vision planning, you want to make sure like you're not leaving this thing that makes you unique out of your content. So in your building phase, yes, you're posting content, you know, maybe three times a week, you know, you batch shoot maybe on weekends, or you choose a day in a month that you're shooting your content and then you're posting your content, but you still want to make sure like you're showing personality in and of that. Now, because I said that, for me, my way to being a full-time content creator is not the regular way where I just focus on social media. I also have a 9-to-5. I would also say that a key part of what you want to be doing in this phase, especially if you want to consider having a 9-to-5, but as a content creator, as part of your mix, is that you want to look at companies that you like, that you already use, and you want to see how, you know, their social media pages are, their web, you know, pages are, their blogs are, and you want to see what part of this do I really enjoy. Do I enjoy community management? Do I enjoy social media management, right? Because those are two different things. Do I enjoy video editing? Do I enjoy content writing? Okay, if I do, how can I also build my portfolio alongside, so that, you know, when I get to, you know, the money phase, I have something to show for it. So let's say, for example, an average content creator is just focusing on Instagram and the algorithm, right? But because you know that you also want to work with brands, not just on the as an influencer, but as an in-house creator, as a staff, right? You also now start building, like, showing work, proof of work in that area, right? That you can use in your portfolio later on. So what this might mean is that it might mean going to WordPress. WordPress is a free site, and starting your own blog and writing alongside. It might mean using Flowdesk for your newsletter, such that when you're now ready to apply for jobs, you can use links to your newsletter or old newsletters you've written to your own community as proof that, oh, you know this. Or it might mean managing your community and doing your designs. You know, maybe yours is that you want to be a graphic designer on a startup social media team, doing designs that are portfolio worthy. So yes, you're building, yes, you're still showing up online, but because you know that your own goal is to have a 9-to-5 later on, you know, you're also building a work, you know, portfolio that is going to, like, get you a 9-to-5. The second part of the building phase, remember the first phase we talked about was going to take like 2 months. That's your vision and your learning, where you're learning and just like showing things to the world to stick. Then the second part is the building phase, where you want to allow your personality show. It's personality plus value. You're showing up every other day, like you're being consistent. Then you're also building like a portfolio by the side to also get, like, make consistent income and work as a creator with brands, not just on the influencer side. But the other part to that is also consistency. Now, because you're new to this, you know, a lot of creators usually fall away in this, like, third to fourth month, because they feel like they put a lot of energy in, but because they are new, they are not getting a lot of, you know, likes or shares, and because of that they quit, because it takes a lot of effort, if I'm being honest, to create content, right? But the truth is that if you quit because you're not seeing results, you're never going to see those results, right? So you actually never know. There's this image that is always ringing in my head, and I saw it like maybe 2 years ago. There was this guy that was digging for diamonds, and he dug from when he was a young man, then up until like when he became old. And literally, if he had just dug like just one more time, he would have hit like the diamond, you know, pots that he was looking for. So for me, for content creation, I kind of see like that as well, that if you put in all the work but you quit because it's not, you know, it's taking so much effort and you're not seeing the result. What if you only needed to post one more video? What if you only needed to show up just one more time, you know, for your breakthrough to come in that sense, right? So I would say that the second part is consistency. And for me, what has worked with consistency is planning my content like way ahead of time. So when I get like and it starts from, I would say it starts from idea, shooting, editing and posting. For some people, it's not, there's some people it's like they don't have ideas, right? For some people is that they don't have enough time to shoot. Maybe they're busy stay at home mom. Other people is that, oh, they shoot, but they don't have enough time to edit. Then some other people, after even editing, they don't feel confident enough to post because they are just so exhausted along all the, all the like the process. So here's what I would say. If your own issue is like ideas, right? Now, you see, if you are solving a problem, you will never run out of ideas. And that's why when I was saying like in your learning phase, your discovery phase, you want to focus on what problem do I want to solve and who do I want to solve it from. For example, I always say in my videos that, hi, I'm Folasade. I help content creators start, grow, and monetize their businesses. You see, in the start already, there is already like 1,000,001 problems under that, because there are people like, how do I start? How do I overcome the fear of what people will say? And even in the grow, people are like, oh, how do I be consistent? How do I keep finding content ideas? How do I grow my Instagram following? How do I grow my YouTube? You can see like the more like you talk, the more you find problems. And as long as people have problems, you have content ideas for days. So the first thing with the idea to solve the idea problem is to say, okay, what problem do I want to solve and who am I solving it for? If you answer that question, what am I passionate about? What makes me angry with the world? For some people, is seeing people in abusive marriages. For some people, is seeing people litter. God has made us in such ways that different things like tick us, different things make us tick. And in that thing that makes you tick, some people is seeing people live sedentary lifestyles. They just don't like that people are not active. It shows that, there is something there for you. So that's like for the idea. Then for the shooting part, for me, that used to be like my problem. Like I will be so gingered at the beginning of the year. I'll say, oh my God, I'm going to show up on YouTube every day. Like I'm going to show up on YouTube. I'm going to post at least once in a week, right? Then I do that for the first month. I do that, and February, I'm like already tired. I've already given up until I started doing something. I started batch shooting. So one day in a week or one day in a month, like I would shoot like all my content, and because of that, and then I will send it to my editor, or edit some of them by myself and then start posting. So now I don't need to wait on inspiration, right? And I'm going to do like a full-on video on how I batch shoot my content and how like I plan my content and all of that. So batch shooting can help. For you, it doesn't have to be as big as maybe one day in a month. It can be like one day every week or 2 days every week, and that those are the days when you are shooting your videos. Now to the editing part, a lot of people tell me, oh my God, Fola, I have so many video clips, but it's to edit them that is a problem. And to be honest, I feel like the editing problem is strongly tied to the idea problem, because if you have like videos where maybe it's not face camera videos, or you're just recording like B-rolls of yourself, but you really don't know what to put out. For me, every time I've had that problem, what I do is I go back to like my content calendar. I look at like the questions I have or questions that people have shared with me, and I'm like, okay, which of these videos that I have in my draft right now can I edit, to now make a video? As long as you have ideas and problems that you want to solve, you would be able to edit. It is when you're just recording for the sake of recording and you're not really, you don't really have like problems that you want to solve, that, you have footage, months and months of footage, hours and hours of footage rather, that you have not edited. And then the final thing is posting. I have videos that I had shot, but maybe because I shot them like such a long time, or I'm not just like, oh my God, I don't feel like I should post this. But usually when I now post the video, it ends up doing really well. And the problem with that is like getting too familiar with yourself. You're so used to yourself, you've seen the video over and again, and you think like, is it really useful? But the truth is that we always make the mistake of thinking everybody knows what we know. But that's not true. Not everybody knows what you know. There are things that you know that people will pay for to learn from you, or people will watch you talk about because they don't know, right? I have friends that makeup comes easily to them. It doesn't to me. It's just recently that I even started putting things together on my face. I have friends that, oh my God, my best friend Andy, she lives in Winnipeg. There is literally nothing she cannot make with her hands. I literally cannot make anything with my hands, right? But because she's used to herself, I'm used to myself, and for me, I can talk about storytelling like all day, like how to make content, it comes easily to me. But because it comes easily to me, I feel like it should come easily to everybody, and that's where like you make the mistake. You want to make sure like if you've taken the pain of shooting, of ideating, shooting and editing, still post the content, even if it means like setting out time like every day to say, okay, by 12 o'clock every day during my lunch break at work, I will post my content. I've talked about like the first 4 months now. You spent the first 2 months visioning and learning from people, then this third and fourth month, just being consistent and building out, what you've learned so far, showing personality, building a side portfolio. Now, and then being consistent. Now, the last 4 to 6 months, because this is a 6-month plan to being a full-time content creator, is making the money. And I always like to say, as a content creator, there are just 1,000,001 ways that you can make money. And like I said, you probably don't find this anywhere on YouTube, because my idea of being a full-time content creator is not being a full-time content creator in the regard that you're only selling digital products, you're only like waiting for brands to reach out to you. I still believe that if you're a content creator, you can also get a 9 to 5. So part of the streams of making money that I'll be sharing, there's getting a 9 to 5, there is freelancing, using your skills as a freelancer, there is selling digital products, right? Then before we now move on to like making money from brands or affiliate marketing. When it comes to making money as a content creator, I always like to start with the parts that I can control, right? Because to be honest, yes, you can position for brands to see you, but you can't really control that. It's like another person's decision entirely. And if you leave your money-making process to that inconsistent thing that does not even depend on you, you might get frustrated before you really start making the money. But if you prioritize things that you can control, like getting a job, like freelancing your skills, like selling products based off what you already know, you'll be in a much better place to even make the money from like brands, right, or affiliate income. So the first thing I would say is that you can literally get a 9 to 5 if you're already creating content. If, like I've said, you've spent the first months designing your vision, you've learned from the best, you're already building out a portfolio. There's literally nothing stopping you from creating a portfolio, from writing out a resume and applying for jobs. There are 1,000,001 brands that are looking for creators, with your set of skills, who can do content writing, who can do videography, who can do social media management. You just need to learn how to tailor your skills, how to talk about your skills in the ways that those brands want to hear it. So the first thing you want to do to get a 9 to 5, 3 things, right? You want to go on LinkedIn or on Indeed or on Simply Hired or a bunch of other places where you can find we work remotely, sites where they post remote work, right? You want to go and look for job titles that fit into the skills that you already have. Off the top of my head, I can tell you that content marketing associate, content writer, social media manager, creator manager, community manager, social media manager, content creator, job titles that are coming off the top of my head. Then the next thing you want to do is that, see, ChatGPT is your friend. I use Gemini. I really like Gemini because I feel like Gemini talks more like a human being, right? Just go to Gemini and say, okay, hi Gemini, I am a content creator. I've been creating content for the past 6 months. I've grown my Instagram page from 0 to 500. I have a YouTube channel with these videos and this number of views. Create a resume from me. I'm telling you guys, I've done it before and I know that it works based off all these things I've said to you. And then Gemini will give you like a resume then that you should work on, by the way. Don't just like put it together and just submit that. Then you can now customize it, right, based off like maybe your other work experiences, and you already have like a resume. Then the next thing you want to do, there's this AI tool that I use. The name is Anusio. You can upload that resume that you got from Gemini to the AI tool, Anusio. Then Anusio will now tell you like, based on this resume that you share, these are job titles you can apply for. But Anusio doesn't end there. Anusio will also tell you that, but these are the skill gaps that yes, you already have this writing skill, but they still need maybe this analytics skill. They still need this skill, and here is the skill that you need to learn. And then you can now go and fill that gap, and then you can apply and apply and apply. And and that's part of the reason why I shared my story like earlier on, to say that I started content creation in April. I got my first job in October. Now I know that the ecosystem is different. Getting a job, a remote job in tech, in marketing is harder than it used to be, but I know that it's not impossible. Last week I still spoke to someone that got a contract role with an organization just because she was a social media manager. So I know that it works. You just need to put in the work. Then the second thing that I would say like to monetize is launching a creator service. So now I'm going to like a bit of story, right? When people say like in church, especially like if you're a believer, to like join a unit and serve God, is because it's great for like contributing to the kingdom, helping bring souls in. But another side effect, and I'm calling it a side effect, it's funny, is that sometimes you pick up skills that end up being your source of income for the rest of your life. And that's literally what happened to this, my friend. So she was on the social media team in our church. She would always capture nice footage. Like if anybody needed anything, Fumi was the go-to. She's still the go-to. And from there, she started shooting people's events, people's parties. And What if I tell you that now she left her 9 to 5 and that's what she does full time, where she's an event content creator? So that's literally another thing you can do, because you're already creating content, you're already telling stories with visuals. What if you offer that as a service instead? And fun fact, Fumi is coming to our community sometime in June to come and teach our creators how they can make money from offering their services. So think about freelance services that you can offer, just like maybe event content creation, or maybe working like with companies when they have like field marketing events as a content creator. Now that doesn't depend on like a brand reaching out to you and paying you money to advertise their product. Because I feel like when a lot of content creators think about making money from content creation, they are thinking about influencing, but that's literally just one of the many ways that you can make money. So I would say that if you want to start out as an event content creator now, you want to start offering your services, look into your immediate circle. One of my friends, Fisayo, that's how she started. She looked at some of her, like the friends, maybe people having like bridal parties or people doing their baby shower. She's on Instagram as Fisayo Create, right? And literally that's how she started. One of her friends that they had a baby, she went to do the shoot, and literally she now has people asking her, okay, what's your quote for this wedding? So I would say that that's like a good step to take. Look at people, maybe hangouts that you're even invited to. Summer is coming, right? Do footages of that and put it on your page, and just start, and then from there you go from there. Another thing is look at other people. Reverse engineering would always work. Look at other people that are doing something like that already, right? And see how they did it. And before you know it, by the time people start seeing stuff on your page, then they start to ask you, okay, can you come and shoot my wedding? Can you come and shoot my naming? Oh, I'm getting engaged. Can you come and capture it? And you start making money. Now another way of making money, and I know, like I said, a 9 to 5, but if you are maybe like not a 9 to 5 person, or maybe your 9 to 5 is not forthcoming, another way you can do is you can freelance, right? So they like 1,000,001 job sites. I'm going to list some of them on the screen where they're like roles. I have gotten a job that paid me $500 to write one article before. So that's another option. You can freelance as a video editor, you can freelance as a content writer. Content writing is even like a major one. There are a lot of freelance content writers. So that's like another way like of making money that is not popular as a content creator, but it's something that you can explore. Then the fourth thing, there are 5 things that I'm going to talk about. The fourth thing is selling digital products. Every time I have a one-on-one with some of my content creators, I ask them, what do you have now that you can put into a digital product, or you can put as a book or as a template that you can sell now? It will surprise you how many things you can do now that you have not even thought about, and if you put a price tag on it, people will buy it. So selling digital products is one of the ways that you can easily make money. I remember my first ever digital product was an ebook that I wrote, and I remember I was selling so many copies of it, just because we decided to sit down and put like all our thoughts together in an ebook. Until today, like, we are still selling copies of that book. And that's just the thing. Digital products are like things that they keep giving, and it's a very good way to make money, because you're already online, you're already teaching people how to do stuff. So why not just push them, to buy stuff rather than giving it out for free all the time, And 2 things that to do for you. One thing that you need to make this work, and I always say this, is email marketing. Now, a lot of content creators just have all their content online, right? If Instagram shuts down today, it's taking all your customers, all your audience. You don't have any other place where you have put them. So now is a good time to start thinking about building an email list. I'm going to put the link to my Flow Desk right in the comments. I use Flow Desk. It's super easy, it's intuitive. You don't have to know how to HTML or coding. You can make beautiful emails, literally. And another reason why I like Flow Desk is because they have like a flat rate pricing. Whether you have 10K email subscribers or you have 1K, the pricing is the same, right? And it's very easy to use. So from your email newsletter, you can now sell more of your digital products. You can also use Stand Store to sell, or Seller or Main Stack to sell some of your digital products, right? So now you're not just creating video and waiting for one brand to notice you from God knows where, but you're already monetizing your audience. If you've ever thought about a way to monetize your audience, this is one of the ways. Start an email newsletter, right? Or put up your digital products in a place like Seller or Main Stack, and you're good to go. Then finally, I know like you've been waiting for me to get this, finally, then there is like working with brands. Now, I know that I really don't like to prioritize like working with brands, because I feel like there's just so much of that is out of your control, but it's still like a very good way to make money as a content creator. And one of the things that content creators do, especially if you're starting out and you want to make money, you want to start positioning for brands to see you very early, even while you're in the first space of learning and trying to make things stick. And a good way is that if you already buy the brand, then you can post about them, you can tag them, right? You want your page to be like a portfolio where brands can see themselves in. See this thing I'm telling you guys, it took me almost 2 years to learn it, and paying lots of hundreds of dollars to content creators to actually learn it and let it sink. And now when I'm creating like my content strategy, I'm thinking, okay, what brand can I show in this, right? What brand can I feature in this? And I've done this not once, not twice, not thrice, and I've gotten brands to pay me. So if you want to make money from brand influencing as a content creator, one of the things you want to do is that you want to position early. You want to make sure like when brands come on your page, they see themselves on your page. You're tagging them, you're replying to them, then you're pitching to them, right? Don't just, oh yes, a brand can like your video, they can comment and say, oh, thank you for featuring us, oh, we are so glad you enjoy using our video, but don't just let it end there. Especially if you like plan to, you can send them an email saying, oh, hi, oh, thank you so much, oh, do you have a PR list? Is there an email I can receive for influencer partnerships? You know, and from there, you know, you start building like your portfolio of brands that you've worked with. One thing to note though is that you need to be intentional with brands, right? And focus on long-term relationships, not just quick wins. So sometimes when you pitch out like that, especially when you're just starting, they will offer you like free products. So we might not have like a budget for this, but we have free products. For me, I'll say like if you're an established creator, maybe not take it, but if you are just starting out, you can take it, right? And then use it to like build your portfolio and make sure like even with the free products, if you promise them a video, be professional, make sure you do that video, right? And you know, who knows, like when they are finally ready, you know, maybe when they have a budget, right, then you are like on their list, they know that, oh, you've done great work before. And just prioritize like building relationships and showing off regardless. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. I know this video was longer than usual, but I also know that it will help if you've ever been thinking about going full-time as a content creator or starting from scratch. I posted how much I earned as a content creator in February, and someone said, oh my god, Fola, I want to leave my nursing career to start content creation from scratch. How can I do it? You know, this is one of the ways that you can do it, you know, even while you're still at your old job, or maybe you even just want to quit cold turkey. Although I'll never advise anybody to do that, right? Because you will still have bills to pay, and where's that money going to come from? So remember, like a recap of everything I've said, a 6-month plan to going full-time as a content creator. You won't spend like your first 2 months writing the vision down, making it plain, learning, paying for courses to be part of communities of like-minded people. There is just something being in that kind of community does for your mind. Then the second part is where you're building a portfolio, you're making sure like your personality is showing through and you're being consistent. And then the last part is where you're making the money, you're applying for the 9-to-5s, you're starting your creator business, you're offering your services, you're pitching to brands, right? You're positioning for brands to see you. And like I always say, being a content creator is a career, and I feel like maybe because the way social media is, there's a lot of glitz and glam. It feels like, oh, they're just quick wins. It's a marathon. So this might not take 6 months for you. It might take 1 year. It might take 2 years. But the most important thing is that you have a vision that you are working towards and you don't quit. Remember the image of the guy that I told you was digging the diamond? If he had struck just one more time, he would have hit what he was looking for. So here's to you, creators. Shout out to you. I know it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, especially when you're doing it and it doesn't seem like things are coming together yet. But I'm just saying, like, stay in it. Have a strong reason for even doing it in the first place, and have a vision. Put the vision in front of you and don't get discouraged. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're new to this channel and you have not subscribed already, I wonder why, you know, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get more and more videos like this. Thank you for watching guys. If there is any questions, if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments. If there's any other thing you want me to address, please let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to help. Bye guys, thank you for watching.